All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about a playbook for what is, without a doubt, one of the most vital parts of any growing economy, the small and medium-sized enterprise, or SME. We're going to explore what's holding them back and, more importantly, what can really propel them forward.
So let's kick things off with a pretty huge number. In a dynamic economy like Bangladesh, SMEs account for a staggering 85% of all industrial jobs. Think about that for a second. That's not just a slice of the economic pie. In a lot of ways, it is the pie.
Right. They are the undisputed engine of pretty much all economic activity and employment. But, and this is a big but, there's a paradox here. Even though they're so central, a lot of these businesses are kind of running on fumes, dealing with some deep-seated issues that stop them from growing the way they could.
To really get why this is such a big deal, we've got to first appreciate the sheer scale of what the SME sector brings to the table.
And this chart really drives the point home. SMEs generate a massive 25 to 30% of the entire nation's GDP. This makes them an absolutely central pillar of the economy, vital for jobs, for local value, and for fostering that all-important entrepreneurial spirit.
Okay, so if SMEs are so critical, what's holding them back? What's stopping them from reaching their full potential? Let's zero in on the core problems.
For so many SME owners, the reality is just a constant fight for daily survival. You know, they're managing staff, they're handling sales, they're dealing with suppliers, chasing down payments, all at the same time. This relentless pressure just doesn't leave any room for big-picture, strategic thinking.
And that daily grind, it leads directly to these bigger, more fundamental problems. I mean, when you're just trying to make payroll, it's tough to maintain strict financial discipline. When you're managing every single detail yourself, the business just becomes completely dependent on you, and that makes it almost impossible to scale. These aren't personal failures, they're just symptoms of a system that's under a ton of strain.
So, how do we start to fix this? Well, it begins with understanding the two main kinds of help that are out there, because even though they sound alike, they are worlds apart.
First up, you have the business mentor. Think of them as a guide for the entrepreneur's entire journey. Their focus is all about the long term, about developing the leader themselves, helping them grow, think more strategically, and just make better decisions over time. And then you have the business consultant. Now, this is a specialist you bring in to solve a very specific, defined problem. They're all about the assignment, focused on a tangible result, like creating a business plan or fixing a broken operational system.
This slide just breaks down the difference perfectly. See, a mentor asks, how can this entrepreneur become stronger? A consultant asks, how can we solve this specific business challenge, like right now? One builds up the leader's own capability, and the other provides a direct solution. And honestly, a lot of businesses really need both.
So what does this kind of guidance actually look like in practice? Let's get into the nitty-gritty and look at the toolkit these advisors actually use to get real results.
It all starts with a structured process, with these foundational steps. You know, is the core idea even viable? Is the business model actually coherent and profitable? This is all about getting past just pure enthusiasm and building on a solid, validated base.
And once that foundation is in place, they provide these critical tools for growth. This is where you directly tackle those weaknesses we talked about earlier, from building an export strategy to get into new markets, to creating a real digital presence so customers can actually find you.
But look, all of this costs money, right? So what's the actual return on investing in this kind of expert guidance? Let's take a look at the real cost-benefit analysis here.
The answer might surprise you. The biggest return isn't always about a sudden jump in revenue. A lot of the time, it's about cutting down on the incredibly high cost of preventable mistakes. Just think about the money you could lose from a bad pricing strategy, a disastrous hire, or a poorly timed expansion. That's the real cost that mentorship helps you avoid.
And this chart just lays out the math perfectly. The value of avoiding just one bad investment, like say picking an unreliable distributor or launching a failed branding campaign, can often be way more than the entire cost of the mentorship itself. It's a direct investment in reducing your risk.
So here's the key takeaway. The ultimate benefit isn't just about the bottom line. It's about building a sense of confidence that's based on reality, not just wishful thinking. It's about knowing what's working, what's not, and being able to make decisions from a place of real clarity and strength.
And all of this brings us to one final, really critical question. Take a look at your own business, or maybe one you know well. Are the systems you have in place designed simply to survive the day-to-day, or are they truly built for sustainable long-term growth?